Welcome to my presentation on ethical consumerism, ideas of fair trade, organics, and moral obligation. Table of contents. The alternative food sector consists of many labels to include organic, non-GMO, fair trade, and local, which often compete with each other for a customer's attention. This paper will examine, through a small study, consumer perceptions of these concepts, and will compare their buying habits to those perceptions. I will then examine outside literature for any parallels or contradictions. Using their suggestions, I will propose ways to connect fair trade more firmly in the consumer practice. First, some definitions. Organic is defined as produce and other ingredients grown without the use of pesticides, synthetic fertilizers, sewage sludge, genetically modified organisms, or ionizing radiation. Animals who produce meat, poultry, eggs, and dairy products do not take antibiotics or growth hormones. The genetic modification of plants involves removing one or more genes from a non-related organism, such as bacteria, viruses, other plants and animals, and recombining them into the DNA of the plant being altered. It is hoped that by doing so, the altered plant will express the desired trait, such as pest resistance. Fair trade is defined as a trading partnership based on dialogue, transparency, and respect that seeks greater equity in international trade. It contributes to sustainable development by offering better trading conditions to and securing the rights of marginalized producers and workers, especially in the South. It also encompasses the concept of buying local to support small farmers. Products labeled 100% organic must contain only organically produced ingredients and processing aids, excluding water and salt. No other ingredients are permitted. Products labeled organic must contain no less than 95% organically produced ingredients, excluding water and salt. Remaining ingredients must consist of non-agricultural substances. Fun fact, while all organics should be non-GMO by definition, not all non-GMOs are farmed organically. Former President Obama signed into law in July of 2016 a bill requiring the labeling of food containing GMOs. While it is a start, many common foods such as soybean oil, corn syrup, and sugar are exempt from labeling. Interestingly, the FDA does not use the term genetically modified, but instead uses genetically engineered, bioengineered, or made with modern biotechnology. The fair trade label can only be used by businesses who have been certified and licensed by fair trade organizations. Certification requires a rigorous global inspection and monitoring system. Labels may range from 100% ingredient certified down to 20% ingredient certified. So what's the big deal? Chemical fertilizers contaminate soil and water with harmful levels of nitrates and nitrites, which cause hemoglobin disorders, and heavy metals, which cause lung, kidney, and liver damage and some cancers. Pesticides will contaminate soil, vegetation, and water. They are harmful to birds and fish, and may often be broad spectrum, killing beneficial insects and vegetation. 10 to 15% of cattle are injected with genetically modified bovine growth hormones, which stimulate milk production by increasing levels of the hormone insulin-like growth factor, IGF-1. It is the presence of IGF-1 in our meat and milk which may be harmful. Although health effects in humans are inconclusive, the health effects in the cattle themselves have caused many European nations to ban its use. GMO technology is potentially dangerous. According to the Organic and Non-GMO report, Genetic modification is based on an obsolete theory called the central dogma, which asserts that one gene will express one protein. Current research shows the opposite, as genes operate in a complex network in ways that are not fully understood. Genes are inserted into plant DNA at random, disrupting the functioning of other genes and creating novel proteins that have never been in the food supply. These new proteins may be toxic or create allergens. Fair trade brings fair trade and working conditions to farmers and producers. It helps create sustainable practices through high-quality goods. It actively promotes biodiversity, the improvement of soil fertility, and limits the use of agrochemicals. Increased income realized through fair trade practices helps alleviate poverty, increases food security, and allows for investment in local communities. Micro-research. What do buyers know about organics, non-GMOs, and fair trade, and how does this influence buying practices? Methods. I had 7 participants, 3 survey responses with written consent, and 2 personal interviews, 2 phone interviews with verbal consent. My results are as follows. 2 participants shopped regularly and specifically for organic. 4 shopped occasionally for organic. All said that organic implied healthier forms of food. 3 participants stated that eating fresh, whether or not it is organic, is better than eating processed foods. 3 were willing to routinely pay extra for organic. 3 were not. All expressed concern over the large price differential between organic and conventional products. 4 participants shopped occasionally or rarely for fair trade. 2 did not feel like they had enough information on fair trade for it to influence their buying decisions. 1 had no understanding of fair trade other than simply seeing the label. 3 bought fair trade chocolate, coffee, and tea on an occasional basis. 3 expressed interest in learning more about fair trade after the interview. 1 participant questioned whether the extra money she paid for fair trade products actually reached those it was intended to help. 6 bought non-GMO products occasionally, with 1 buying rarely. All felt they should buy more non-GMOs, but were uncertain of any provable health risks. The attribute influence and reasons for buying. Out of the 3 categories, organic ranked number 1 in importance for 6 participants when buying a product, because it is healthier and doesn't have known cancer-causing chemicals. The second most important consideration was non-GMO, due to concerns over possible future health risks. All participants ranked fair trade as least important, stating that they would buy a product only it is of great quality and not much more expensive than conventional products. 1 participant explained that she knows it sounds selfish, but says, "I am more concerned with what I put in my body than supporting fair trade." 2 expressed specific concerns over meanings and labelings of organic and non-GMOs. 3 commented on the availability of organics and fair trade items, explaining that they often had to go to multiple stores to get their needed items. No participant linked organic, non-GMO, or fair trade to sustainable food production or to the environment. How does this compare to other research? According to Brown et al., organic shoppers are more likely to be concerned with health issues, while fair trade buyers are generally concerned with environmental issues. This study found that true ethical consumers will buy on a cause-related basis, while semi-ethical consumers will only buy occasionally at the premium price point. Both Brown et al. And Dippelsmacher et al. Found that the fair trade label was not enough reason to pay extra for products, that people would be more willing to buy fair trade if there was no price premium or if the premium translated into greatly improved producer livelihoods. Even for food advocates who seek out local and organic foods and are willing to pay a higher price for these qualities, ensuring justice at all levels of the food system has not become a central issue. In addition, Brown and DeFelsmacher found that the availability of organic and fair trade products, as well as inconsistencies in labeling, were a concern. Moreover, fair trade and organics often occupy different retail and marketing niches, which can make them into competitors instead of cooperators. Why the disconnect? First, people, especially Westerners, do not feel a connection to their food producers. Goodman sees fair trade as a method to promote new ways of trading, to reduce aid dependency by opening up development in poor countries through consumption, marketing, and product placement. It is also a way to create a moral economy of alternative development by bringing distant strangers into the world of concern and pocketbooks of northern consumers. Fair trade here is a relinking of production and consumption. If consumers in this moral economy can associate themselves with the ethical, political, and economic realities of the producers, they are more likely to purchase fair trade items. Second, sustainability is generally looked at in local terms. Consumers do not fully understand that their buying practices can affect sustainability on a global level. Morgan examines two narratives in the moral economy, the local and green, which includes the organic label, and the global and fair, which includes the fair trade label and wider fair trade lobby. This article describes consumers' associations of sustainability with localization and promotes a politics of care method as part of our global ethics commitment. It emphasizes the need to recognize the Southern perspective on globalization as a beneficial way to become integrated into the global economy. Third, global consumerism has the tendency to commodify not only a product, but also renders the lives and landscapes of the majority world as consumables in their own right. How do we connect organic consumers to fair trade? On the practical side, education. Consumers need more information on what fair trade means in terms that connect them to the producer. On the most basic level, this involves explaining that agreed minimum prices are usually set above market price to enable producers to earn a living wage. This may offset reluctance to pay premium prices. In addition, describing that the use of direct trade cuts out the middleman will help consumers realize the premium price they are paying is not being swallowed up by large corporations. Commodification must be redefined as responsible consumption to allow fair trade to perform its magic of alternative development. Moreover, consumers need to understand that all their buying decisions affect the entire food system. That is, buying ethically can be done locally as well as globally. Marketing. Standardized labeling across brands, which includes product sourcing and impact statements, will help in consumer decision-making. Adding social and fair trade criteria to organic standards and organic criteria to fair trade standards would ensure linkage between concepts and market placement. All the concepts of local and green and global and fair are not mutually exclusive. Both should be marketed as part of a larger sustainability and food security issue. Morgan also suggests that promoting a local capacity for food self-reliance in developing countries will increase consumer participation in fair trade. I further suggest that by specifically marketing the themes of development and self-reliance, Western consumers in particular will relate to and support these ideas of self-determination. On the personal side, organic consumers are already actively concerned with eating healthy and with having their food produced in a way that is environmentally friendly. By linking fair trade production practices with organic ideas of chemical and GMO-free and sustainably produced foods, consumers will connect concepts of healthy eating and healthy environment with fair trade. Caring for others often holds to the same localization principles seen in the ideas of sustainability. Many consumers will buy locally as opposed to fair trade because they feel connected to and see the direct results in their immediate community. A politics of care approach will help create a moral solidarity between consumer and producers, based on a "we are all in this together" concept, which will put producers on the same level as the environment. In conclusion, none of these suggestions are mutually exclusive, but taken together, they will help link practices of fair trade and organic, which in turn will produce and reproduce common linkages between environmental sustainability, producers, consumers, and the global food system.